Coach, good to talk to you again. Back at it after a pretty big win against Stanford. If we kind of look back at that, 32-6, if you would, just kind of talk about some of the highlights that came to your mind.
Well, we've been preaching, trying to get bonus points when you can, trying to put a lot of points on the scoreboard, picking up the tempo of when you start the pace, setting the pace of a match. And I thought those are some of the things we did very well in that meet. And it's just that time of year you got to work at those things.
Well, you talk about bonus points, and bonus points aplenty. 85 points scored in the last 3 meets. It's the most since a 113-point stretch, 3 meets in 2012. What's sort of been the method to your guys' madness these last 3, kind of reeling off 32, 32, and 21?
Well, again, a lot of that's winning a lot of the matchups in the dual meet, but they also, it's getting those bonus points. When you can't get a major, get a pin, get a tech. We talk about those things. So, you got to put points on the scoreboard to get those points for the dual meet.
And some of the wrestlers that have been really wrestling well the past couple of meets. Talk about Chad Hankey, 9 in a row. Mike Magram, 7 in a row. What's kind of been going good for them these past couple meets in open tournaments?
Well, I think, Hankey started the Midlands. He kind of clicked there and had a good Midlands tournament. You won that tournament. He's been wrestling, pretty confident lately. I think Mike Magram, same thing, kind of Midlands the second day. He kind of turned things around, started wrestling a lot better, picking up his pace. So I think that Midlands tournament kind of helped those two guys, get on a roll right now.
And ironically enough, Mike Magram, Chad Hankey, the only 2 current OSU wrestlers with 100 or more wins in their career. Magram now, if with 2 more wins, gets to 125 and 7th all time. Is that kind of mind-boggling to you? He's getting that high already?
Well, again, those 2 guys have wrestled all 4 years since they were freshmen. So, Magram's been at the Nationals every year. He's been in that round of 12 every year. He's been right there to be an All-American. So when you go that far in that tournament, it doesn't surprise me.
All right, well, the Beaver wrestlers in Gill Coliseum, not the only ones in action on Saturday. Some fans might not have known. Some other wrestlers were competing in the Clackamas Open. You guys had a handful of first-place finishers there. Your thoughts on their performances?
Yeah, we had a lot of guys, a lot of guys that don't get to wrestle, the dual meets. Maybe they're the backups, maybe they're redshirting, maybe they're trying to get, still get a spot on the team. Went up to Clackamas at the Open tournament, had 5 champions up there. A lot of guys placed up there, so it's good to get out of the room, not just be a partner and go work on some of the things we've been talking about in that tournament.
Well, great to know. Even though they weren't on the mats in Gill, they were still competing and winning. Well, now we focus and shift our attention to from Stanford in the Pac-12 to all the way on the East Coast. 2 dual meets this weekend, Lehigh in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania on Saturday, and then we got Cornell in Ithaca, New York on Sunday. About those 2 teams, what are your thoughts?
Well, 2 great programs with great tradition, very good coaching, very good environments to go wrestle in. I've wrestled Lehigh before. Cornell's been, top 4 or 5 team the last few years. So it's, it's kind of getting away from what we're wrestling out here to going to the East Coast and wrestling, just some different competition this time of year. So I think it's going to be good for our team. We're going to see a lot of good individuals there on the road there, and it'll be 2 good, challenging duels for us.
I was going to say, you obviously have quite a bit of experience with Midwest wrestling in Iowa. Obviously, about West Coast wrestling. Is there sort of a different style from all of those 3 as opposed to the East Coast?
Well, the East Coast, they're good on the mat. A lot of times they're good on the mat. They're good in scramble situations. So, that's one of the, things you got. A lot of guys out in West sometimes don't realize the mat wrestling that they're very good on the mat. So that's one of the things we've been really worked on the last few years, preaching on the mat. But we know when we go out there that, hey, they're going to be tough on the mat.
And as far as travel goes, I know it's not going to be easy. It's not only 3 hours time difference, but you got 4 or 5 hours on the plane, connecting flights. How does that sort of play in when the travel is so long?
Well, it's like anything, you adjust to it. You go out there, you travel, you get your workout in, you get ready to compete, and really you don't worry about that. That's not an excuse why you compete one way or the other. You go out there and you just get ready to wrestle those 2 teams.
All right. Well, we no doubt you guys will be fresh and ready in Pennsylvania and New York, and we sure will talk to you when you get back here in the good old Pacific time zone in Corvallis.
Thanks.